Hey, welcome back. I mentioned before that for the 68th season, I'm going to sim the first half of the season week by week, and then kind of pick up where I had left off on the previous season, where I was just sort of playing a game each week, or not playing a game, but simulating a game each week and letting it run out with no commentary. So I'm going to start to do that here, but I'm halfway through. I'm at week 9. Most of the teams have played 7 games. Some in the AFL have played 8 games. So we're at a good halfway point to kind of see where we're at and see where we'll focus. Excuse me, for the rest of the season. So first, the NFL Capital Division. The Cowboys right now are unbeaten. They do have a tie, but they are undefeated at 6-0-1. So they're off to a pretty good start there. If I click on their schedule, you can see who they've beaten. The tie was to Cleveland. That's obviously a big showdown for them. Oh, it's always a big rivalry. And Browns and the Cowboys did tie that game, so both contenders. No big surprises there. Some close wins, as you can see, but they're getting it done. So 6-0-1, they're leading the Capital Division. I mentioned the Browns; they're doing well. Also, they're at 5-1-1, and they are leading the Century Division. The Cardinals are right behind them at 4-3, so the Cardinals performing a little bit better this season than they did prior. In the Central Division, you've got the Vikings starting to emerge as a powerhouse. They're 5-1-1, a half game ahead of the Detroit Lions, who are having a pretty decent season. The Packers have really fallen off, as you can see there. And then the defending champions, the Bears, with a new head coach Jim Dooley, are 1-6. I think they just won their first game, so they were 0-6, I think, to start with. Let me take a look here and see. No, they did just win in week 7, so they lost the previous game to Minnesota. The Vikings are on a roll. You can see the Vikings beat them 45-3 in week 4 and beat them 42-13 in week 8. So they've been getting blown out. They gave up. Look how many points they gave up. So much for that Bears defense. Really not playing well at all so far in this season. In the Coastal Division, this is the biggest surprise. Not that the Colts are 7-0 and they have the best record in either league, but look at the Los Angeles Rams, severely underperforming. They did that the previous season as well. They finally started to get it together in the last half of the season and almost made the playoffs. Came down to the final week. They lost out to Baltimore, but wow, they're 1-4-2, and their chances of making the postseason are, I would say, next to impossible. The Colts would have to completely collapse, and the Rams would just have to win out. And I don't see that happening. And they've lost some games inexplicably, if you ask me, or tied. Tying Pittsburgh, losing to St. Louis. All the Cardinals are looking good. They were shut out by the 49ers at home. Tied the Packers. They did beat Atlanta for their first win in Week 7, and played the Colts tough, as you would expect they would in any normal situation. But still, that's going to be their fourth loss that just happened in Week 8. So they're now way back at 1-4-2, and likely will not contend for the playoffs. In the AFL, the Jets are ahead in the Eastern Conference, which we would expect they would be. Um, Followed closely by Houston. So the Jets right now, and they did beat Houston. It looks like in Week 7 they'll have the Oilers again in Week 10 at home. So we'll have to see how that goes. But right now, the Jets are looking pretty good there in the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, Kansas City um, has really rebounded from a couple mediocre performances the last couple seasons, and they've really turned it on here and lead that Western Conference pretty comfortably, ahead of San Diego and Oakland. The Raiders, the defending AFL champs, looking okay, but take a look at their schedule. They've got a big showdown with Kansas City. That'll probably be the feature showdown that I'll do in Week 9. Um, and then there's the rest of the schedule there. The expansion Bengals have won 2 games. They're not looking too bad for an expansion team. Their first win was against the Denver Broncos in week number 2. Take a look at that. They play in I can't remember the name of the stadium. Let me take a look here. Nippert Stadium is where they were playing, and let's see. They won this game. Here's a touchdown pass from John Stofa to Bob Trumpy. Um, so here was a score here for the Bengals. I'll take a look at their very first. I guess their very first touchdown was a punt return. Oh no, that was Denver. Sorry, it's a little misleading there. It's got the Bengals helmet there, making it seem like it was their play. It was a punt by the Bengals, but a touchdown return by the Broncos. So that was their first touchdown, the one I just showed. So there you go. I mentioned the Oilers. The Oilers are now playing at the Astrodome. So I'll show a little bit of that Week 7 matchup with the Jets. You can see they're in the Astrodome now, and the Jets winning that game. We'll show let's see. We'll do a quick replay of a touchdown from Namath to Sauer. They're on the artificial turf. Let's see here. What else? There's a big pass there from Namath to Maynard. Don Maynard. See the old Astrodome, they still got the baseball turf, even though they're in, or the baseball dirt, even though they're indoors. Let's see what else. I mentioned the Chiefs are 7-1. Let's see. They've had some big wins. You can see there. They beat Houston back in week 1. They beat the Raiders in week 7, 17-10. Just beat the Chargers. So let's see what they're doing. By the way, they're playing, I believe, in a new stadium as well. They're playing in Municipal Stadium. There's a touchdown pass from Len Dawson to Mike Garrett. All right. So there you go. So that's how things are going right now in the AFL. I mentioned the Colts were 7-0. Let's see. Yeah, so they got their revenge on the Bears in week 5 from what happened the previous season, 45-0. Um, so that's pretty much it. I'll show the league leaders here in passing. In terms of yards, it's Billy Kilmer, quarterback for the Saints, followed by Fran Tarkenton. Oral Morrill, who's now starting with the Colts. He was previously, I think, with the Giants, but he's taken over the starting role there from John Unitas. I think in real life it was because Unitas was hurt most of that season, or got hurt early on, and then Morrill kind of took over um, and led the Colts to the Super Bowl in that year. Let's see how this season shakes out. In terms of rating, he is the top-rated passer in either league, ahead of Len Dawson there in the AFL. So looking at rushing totals, this might be a little skewed because, again, some of the AFL teams have played an extra game. So that might be the factor here in showing Harold Granger as the leading rusher with 931 yards. I believe he's played, that's 8 games. Yeah, so that's out of 8 games this season. If you look at Ken Willard, who leads the NFL in rushing, he's done that in 7 games. But still, 931 versus 625. Granger's definitely having a great season, leading the Oilers there, and leading all rushers in yards gained. Receiving, um, Danny Abramowitz leads all receivers with 50 receptions. And yardage, it's Don Maynard of the Jets, followed by Abramowitz. Let's look at defense real quick. Tommy Nobis, I think the previous season he was the top, the leader in tackles, or one of the leaders in tackles. I think Butkus is right there with him. So none of these names are surprising. Nobis, Butkus, Nitschke, Wilcoxes are all. I was going to say they were all Hall of Famers. I don't know that Tommy Nobis is. He should be, um, but I don't know that he is. Sacks. Jerry Mays leads either league with 13, followed by Bubba Smith for the Colts. Interceptions, you've got Leroy Mitchell for the Boston Patriots and Bobby Boyd for Baltimore, each with 4. So those are the statistics. Let's look at injuries, see if there's any major ones out there that might be driving some of the standings. So Maxie Bond is out for the Rams. That's probably not what's contributing to their being where they are, because the Rams' issue seems to be on their offense. They're just not scoring. Haven Moses, the rookie wide receiver for Buffalo, is out, expected to be back in week 12. John Hadel is out for the Chargers. So he is, I'm trying to remember who the replacement quarterback is for San Diego. Player stats. It's this guy. He's a rookie, John Brittenham. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's currently the starter until Hadel recovers from that injury. Let's see what else. Some big names, notable name, Emerson Boozer is just out 1 week. He'll probably play. Looks like he's doubtful, but that's usually 50-50 as to whether or not they'll be in the lineup or not. So there you go. Those are the injuries at the halfway point. And again, I showed the standings. So here's the matchups for week 9. We're going to go ahead, I think, we're going to feature this Kansas City Oakland game. I think that's a big game in the AFL Western Conference. Let's see what else we've got here. There's Bears Packers. Doesn't mean as much as it did the prior year, the year before that. Okay, so that's pretty much it there. I will go ahead and continue this in the next stream, and we'll set up the Chiefs versus Raiders, and we'll follow the rest of the league as well with scores and highlights. So thanks for watching.